always with the congregation, which so many don't have the privilege of doing. Today, of course, is Palm Sunday, a little different than most. I was about ready to put the palms out your window and have you drive around the block or something. I guess we'll forgo that kind of celebration. As we look at this special day entering what we call Holy Week, first reading talked about the Lord has given me a well-trained tongue to give, hopefully, a word of comfort. I don't know about that, but we'll do what we can, how much comfort we get, knowing what we're probably looking at in the next 2 weeks, again, is pretty serious business. And so we are taking it serious to take every precaution we can to protect you and keep you safe. Hopefully you're doing the same with one another. And as you know, the governor, starting at midnight, no one is to really be out of their home unless there is a serious reason to do so. And if you do, of course, to protect the others from what you might carry. We did have a death in Van Buren yesterday morning from the virus. The guy who led the AA group, which used our building for AA Wednesday nights. But he has not been in there for 3 weeks, so we're pretty safe on that score. So keep these people in prayer. Again, today we look at this Holy Week as we wind up Lent. As you know, we began Lent talking about the need to pray, to fast, and to give alms. 3 key words, key events, actions that you and I, as human beings, show that we belong to God. We are not of the animal kingdom, which simply reacts. And we need to keep that in mind looking at these events currently. We're not just a people who react, but we are people who know that our trust is in God, as we heard in the gospel about Jesus today. Let him trust in God, that we do certainly trust in God. And as the president said last week in his televised speech, this is a time of all times that, as Christians, we need to be able to get together and pray. We need to come before our Lord because we know the Lord hears the cry of the poor. But the newspaper article about my experience or history of St. Meinrad, Indiana, looking back at 1871 when there was a smallpox epidemic and the town got together and prayed. They walked to the top of this mountain, which I don't enjoy walking myself. It's pretty steep. They prayed to God, and that stopped the smallpox right then. I think about that same year in 1871, Our Lady of Good Hope help in Wisconsin, Champion, Wisconsin, where there was a fire that burnt up well over 1 million acres, and 2,500 people were killed in the fire. But everyone who fled to this little chapel there, which is now an approved Marian site, the only one in the United States, everyone that fled to that chapel were kept safe. No one was injured. The fire came up to the outside of the fence, all the way around. It burnt the fence on the outside, but everything within it, the grass and the inside of the fence, were all preserved, as well as the people. So you think, wow, does God intervene in history? You bet he does. And still, it rains on the just and the unjust alike. So you and I, as people of God, have to look and say, how do we live that mystery out, being God's people, knowing that there are certainly bad things that happen. So as we wind up Lent, it's a good time for us to now again look at prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Again, we're not reactionary. We take deliberate steps. And so you might look at your prayer time. Have I added to my prayer time during Lent? Well, if not, really seriously think about it this week, either in terms of tuning in to one of the broadcasts and sharing prayer with them, or perhaps adding to your rosary another rosary each day, or pray the Stations of the Cross as a family. That's something you can do, and maybe make stations outside your own yard, and where you're remembering each one of the steps that Jesus took on his own passion, his own way to death. Because the one key thing you notice there is Jesus was not put to death, he accepted death. He accepted death. In John's Gospel, he embraced the cross. So he went beyond what was required. You and I are called to go beyond what is required. That's why we'll hear Jesus say, if they draft you to service, go 1 mile, go the second mile. If they take your cloak, give the extra. So we need to look at ourselves and say, am I deliberately, consciously choosing to do something extra in my prayer time. We look at prayer and sacrifice, almsgiving. We think about giving of ourselves. And certainly a good time, I know when families are getting homebound together, guess what? Tensions are bound to arise sometimes. Things can get difficult. We get under each other's skin, especially with people that we love. Huh? So we need to be conscious of that. Certainly ahead of time if you've not already thought about that. And we need to consciously say, and what can I do each day extra to show my loved ones that I love them? What can I do extra for these other people in my life? That will be our almsgiving, our work in this mystery of the week, to think about that. And then, of course, to think of those who suffer worse than we do. I mean, our hospitals right now may be maxing out. We can think of those in other parts of the world where they do not even have hospitals. And what is it like for them when such an epidemic does hit their area? To keep them in prayer, to know that there are certainly many, many people worse off than we are, and then to be there for each other in prayer. I was called to anoint a lady at the nursing home last night, not from the virus, but simply a time for going, to recognize that yes, it is about death. You and I follow Christ, Christ who overcame death, to give us life. And that's next week. We will celebrate truly the resurrection. That we are called to be an hallelujah people, a resurrection people. So in confidence, let us this week add to our prayer, add to our care for one another, something extra, and add to our concern for those who suffer much more than you and I do.